for some of you out there who did not hear all of the Mike Pence fireworks yesterday, we probably should, Buck, at some point play that because our friends at The View are even reacting to our show yesterday.
I think tee it up. I think play it now. A little reminder. So I'm sitting here. I'm trying to throw in the towel. I'm trying to invoke the mercy rule. Clay has no mercy.
Before we play this, what was your headspace as the Mike Pence conversation got increasingly more and more contentious? Did you feel like you needed to throw in it? Like, at what point did you start thinking, "Ooh, this is a lot more tension than I expected"?
Third round of the question, I was like, "Oh boy." Follow up, totally normal. Got to follow up, got to press. When you went to the third time, and yeah, it really just for me, it felt like it's that point in the MMA match where one guy kind of goes a little limp, and it's over. And I'm that guy who has to throw his body in the middle for a second there because we're trying to keep it a fair fight
for
here.
People out there. Like, again, I really was so in disbelief that Mike Pence tried to go in this direction. So let's play the audio so you guys can hear it. We'll play maybe the short version of it so you don't and by the way, if you want to go hear the longer version, you can always go to clayandbuck.com. You can certainly go grab the podcast. But here is the fireworks yesterday with former Vice President Mike Pence on the show that has blown up and everybody's reacting to all over the media landscape today. Here's what you missed if you weren't listening yesterday.
With all due respect, when you aren't telling us what your decision would be, I think you're dodging the question and frankly not stepping up on the front of leadership, which in the past you've been willing to do. So to me, not answering is a no.
Well, look, number one, I don't think you know what the president's defense is, do you? I mean, what are the facts? I mean, look, we either believe in our judicial process in this country or we don't. We either stand by the rule of law or we don't. I just, what I would tell you is I think as someone who has
what I'm hearing is you're fine with Donald Trump being put in prison, sir. And that, to me, since you were his vice president, feels pretty disrespectful.
Look, I had a standard rule. I don't talk about hypotheticals. Look, we don't know what the president's defense here is. I think he's entitled to make his defense, entitled to have his day in court. And look, let's take it one step at a time. But I would just tell you that
but if you know that these are political charges, and you do, this is not a difficult decision.
Clay, I think we've gotten what we're going to get here in terms of an answer to this one.
I think any conclusion by anyone.
All right, we can cut it off there because he keeps kind of dancing around the question.
Well, that was the third. Just to be clear, that was the third time that you pressed him on that question. And I did want to ask. Look, I think that here's something that is. I think that's what Pence really believes because I think he feels like Donald Trump betrayed him. I think that he feels like Donald Trump left him high. And can I just once? I know you're fired up about this, but just say that then.
Yeah,
that's the part of it. Be like, this guy left me. I'm his VP. He left me high and dry because, again, folks, I'm telling you what I believe the former vice president really thinks here. When he's talking about process or we have to wait to see. No, we know what happened here. We also know, I think, that on the pure, if you're taking a legal, is formalism the right way to describe this? Maybe well, thank you, sir. Yeah, no law school necessary for this guy. He just Googles the stuff. But if you have a legal formalist approach to this, I think everyone needs to understand the obstruction defense for Trump he's in a lot of trouble on that. If you're going to argue about whether, if a court says you have to return the following things, there are actions you can take. Not returning it is our point, or the point that I think everybody is trying to make about this is, yeah, but they're doing this to Trump. And even Bill Barr, when he was making the case about this on Brett Baer's show, he was saying that there is a double standard here. And for a lot of us, we're just like, no, we're not going to. There is a double standard isn't enough. If a double standard means our guy goes down while their guys and gals, so to speak, go free, that is unilateral political disarmament on process crimes here, which Bill Clinton should have gone to prison for if we're letter of the law. Hillary Clinton should have gone to prison for. Joe Biden still should probably, based on the latest allegations and evidence that we're waiting to see here from the FBI, certainly his son should go. Like, so how many of these times can we see one side gets away with everything and our side gets jammed up on the process crime? Look, even the Mueller probe. What was the Mueller probe really all about? Nailing people for process crimes because there was no substance to it. I mean, they sent didn't Papadopoulos get 2 weeks in prison for lying about what he had for breakfast effectively? It was garbage.
I believe Donald Trump is not worthy of being reelected as president. And I think he should have to take his medicine if a court convicts him. And I don't think it's my job or any other Republican candidate's job to pardon him if he's convicted. I would disagree, but that's at least an answer. When you're trying to kind of float here on what his answer was, in particular because his brand, Buck, is I'm the guy who's willing to make hard decisions, even if they're unpopular, because I'm willing to stand on my beliefs. And then you, to me, disrespect this audience by not telling us what your position on this actually is. I just think I couldn't let him not answer, and that's why I just kept, going after him.
I think a lot of people listening would feel like if they were honestly, think about this. If you were Mike Pence and you had gone through what he went through, from his perspective, put aside your politics or anything else, I think you'd be really upset at Donald Trump.
Yeah, I get it.
And so that's fine. I mean, you certainly feel that way. But if you want to be the commander in chief of the United States for 4 years, I think you have to be willing to come out and say what everyone knows you think, but you're not really willing to do it because you want to sort of have a little bit of both sides in the process.
And what I would point to, Buck, here is, remember Ted Cruz? Nobody got savaged more by Donald Trump than Ted Cruz in the 2016 primary. Not only did Donald Trump go after him, he went after his dad. He went after his wife. I mean, it was nasty. And what did Ted Cruz do when Donald Trump got elected? Ted Cruz could have been a whiny little brat who was upset about how nasty the 2016 campaign was. Instead, to his credit, Ted Cruz manned up and he said, this guy's the president. I'm going to bust my ass to be the most effective senator I can for the state of Texas and my constituents, even if maybe my feelings are hurt. And even maybe if I feel like Donald Trump didn't treat me fairly. To me, that's what I wanted to hear from Mike Pence. Look, I'm mad at Trump. Be mad at him because of what happened on January 6th and the way you think he was treated. But being mad at someone and not standing on principle is the opposite of what I want whoever is in that behind that resolute desk to do.
People can disagree with Bill Barr, for example, but he's telling you where he really stands on this stuff. He's saying, look, yeah, I work for the guy. I quit. I disagreed with some of the stuff at the end about the election. I defended him, and he did, and I remember it very strenuously against the Mueller probe, which is really why I think he was willing to take the job in the first place. And he's like, this is where I am on this. He's like, Bill Barr's point on this is he broke the law and he brought it on himself. Now, you can disagree with that, but Bill Barr's coming out and saying it. You can say that you think that that's, terrible, wrong, whatever, but he's saying it. I feel like your problem yesterday or the part that brought out the ferociousness of Clay Travis for a moment, which is not a very common sight, by the way, was that he wasn't willing to tell us that Pence wasn't willing to say it, That's why we'll have Chris Christie, and some of you I know are going to get mad at us for even having Chris Christie on the show. He's running for president. He says what he thinks. He's willing to make the case. Now, we'll ask him questions. If he says things that we disagree with or think are unfair, we'll push back on it.
And there'll probably be some fireworks there.
And it'll probably be fiery.
First Amendment alive and well here.
We're not going to hide from this stuff because I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good for Trump or any of his anyone who really believes in him in the media to just hide from all of the arguments that are out there and create some echo chamber. All of that said, The View, the ladies of
Have you heard this? I have no idea what we're about to play. This happened just in the last hour on The View, right? Have you heard this audio at all?
I have not. I have not heard the audio, but they were speaking about us talking about how wise and handsome we are.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing that. They've clearly.
Here is one of the co-hosts of The View. Play it.
Republican candidates, unfortunately, are still being asked whether they would pardon you-know-who. And I hate to tell you this, but this is how your friend, your former boss, addressed it again.
I take the pardon authority very seriously. It's an enormously important power of someone in an executive position. And I just think it's premature to have any conversation about that right now.
What I'm hearing is you're fine with Donald Trump being put in prison, sir. And that, to me, since you were his vice president, feels pretty disrespectful.
I had a standard rule. I don't talk about hypotheticals. Look, we don't know what the president's defense here is. I think he's entitled to make his defense, entitled to have his day in court. And look, let's take it one step at a time.
I will not plug. Well, I thought it was interesting that Pence didn't say, hey, were you there when they were saying they were going to hang me? Because, these guys seemed a little shocked that he would have this response. What do you think?
I mean, you can't miss in this that's one of the most listened to right-wing radio shows in the country, and they're essentially making the argument in 2023, the year of our Lord, that because you think DOJ might be a little political, you throw out all the crimes that are listed in this indictment.
Every single Democrat nodding at that table, every single Democrat in that audience and watching at home, the live audience and watching at home, went along with the, oh, come on, Hillary's running for president. Let's forget about the Espionage Act statute in this case. It's not big enough. We need to let the election play out. Without exception, they all made that case. And now they're going to sit there like, oh, but like the law is the law, and they're making this absurd case about the politicization of it. It's not absurd. This goes to the very center of, do we have a justice system or not? If only one side bears the consequences of the letter of the law, then we do not have a justice system. We have a political persecution system.
Amen. I agree with all of that. And I appreciate whoever, I think that's Alyssa Farrar Griffin, if I'm not mistaken. I think I recognize her voice. She's the conservative on The View, quotation marks there.
I don't think she would say she's even a conservative, right? I think she's like, a little to the left of Paul Ryan. Would she describe herself as a conservative?
It's a great question. I don't know, but I appreciate the fact that she told the View audience what is the truth, which is this show has a massive audience. A big part of that, the legacy of Rush and the honesty that he shared with you every single day. But I like to think, as we come up on the 2-year anniversary of us being in these chairs, sitting behind these microphones, that a lot of you have come to agree. Like, you may not agree with us on a day-to-day basis, but we're going to tell the truth to you in a way that doesn't exist very frequently in much of the rest of the media. But I think that's the essence of this, right? Pence seems to believe that the Republican contingent out there is of the opinion that the justice system is fair. He said we either have rule of law or we don't. That's the problem. I don't think, and I'm saying this as a lawyer, I don't think we have a fair, impartial justice system. And if we do not, then I do not believe you can sit on the sideline and just say, well, we got to just wait and see how all this plays out. No, we have to take up arms against, metaphorically speaking, the absurdity of what is going on right now with the weaponization of the justice system against one particular political party, and to a large extent, one right now, head of that party. But it's not going to be just Trump. This is coming for everybody. We said that DeSantis, Gavin Newsom's talking about trying to arrest him for kidnapping,
which is completely insane. I would just note, and I've heard this from people, and it's a worthwhile point to make. The same voices right now, the same Democrat voices that are saying the law is the law, and we need the rule of law, and Trump needs to go to prison for 100 years, are people who, if you said to them, okay, fine, you know what? We'll go along with this. You're right. Law's the law. Let's lock up a former president for decades because he had some documents in a shower that nobody saw that he thought were his because of his interpretation, whatever, right? Let's go along with that. I'm glad we've established the law is the law. What are we going to do with all the illegal immigrants in this country in violation of federal law who are supposed to be deported? And you know what they'll all do? Oh, but we're a nation of immigrants and people with ties to the command. Federal law says they are subject to deportation. All of them in the country illegally. What are we going to do about them? And all of a sudden, you'll get all these arguments, human rights, basic decency, nation of immigrants, the Statue of Liberty. But hold on a second, Clay. I thought the law was the law.
It's a great point. The law has always been subject to a great deal of discretion. And the discretion that is being exercised right now is, in my opinion, indefensible. And look, Buck, people are focusing on Vivek Ramaswamy saying this. Before Vivek, a month ago, people listened to our interview with DeSantis. I asked this question, but I came on and I said, I think every Republican running, but long before this became a story, I said on the show, every Republican running, as a matter of principle, needs to say they will not let Donald Trump go to prison. And I'm sticking to it. And I think that is, to me, a litmus test issue for me in terms of who I would vote for in the primary. And I think a lot of our listeners as well.